Hello, this is Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalist of East Tennessee. Today is May 12th, 2015, and I am Jonas Holdeman.
And I'm Joe Barnhart. Welcome. I want you to know if you don't believe there is a God, you're not alone. And if you do believe in God, you shouldn't be alone. We want to welcome you, talk with us, and interact together with us. This is a show for people who want to think about whether or not this is supernaturalism or naturalism. That's one of the things we're going to talk about today. And we come from the Rationalists of East Tennessee and sponsored by them and the Atheist Society of Knoxville. Go ahead.
Okay, today's show topic, and we had a little discussion about how to
formulate it,
how to state it in just a few words, but basically it deals with the potential for conflict between religion and religious institutions like colleges and universities,
on the one hand,
and the freedom of faculty to express their own views.
And we want to get into this in some detail because there have been some very good studies on this over the years, actually. First, we want to tell you something about the Atheist Society of Knoxville. They have a fund group, and that's at a place downtown at Barley's in the old cities, starting about what time?
5:30.
So they're on the ball down there now in the old city.
Shortly. And it's just a short distance from our studio here.
So they got a little book up there, maybe the God Delusion or something like that, that'll indicate where they are. And but they welcome you for a conversation and just sitting around and eating and having a good time and interacting with each other in a good, polite manner. You can disagree with ideas, that's good, but that's not the same as being disagreeable.
Okay, the Rationalists of East Tennessee have several regular monthly meetings. The first and third Sunday mornings of the month are usually lectures with lively roundtable discussions. These are held in the cafeteria annex in the Goins building at Pellissippi State Community College. The program starts at 10:30, but come early for coffee and conversation. On the second Sunday, we hold a Skeptics Book Club discussion, and this is held at Books A Million. We'll mention some more about that later. And on the fourth Sunday, we're now alternating with a get-together we call a Reflections meeting, which features discussion with a potluck lunch in someone's home. And on alternate fourth Sundays, some will meet to play board games and other similar kind of activities.
And later we'll give you the website for additional details and also times and locations if we have it. And
okay, I have something in the news to talk about, but I will.
Go ahead.
If you have something that you would like to bring up.
I just got just a little bit. I was interesting that I used to teach religion and American society, and so I'd subscribe to different denominations and so forth. This is a Baptist journal, but they're talking about Muslims and Jews and Catholics and this and stating here in the year 2070, they project, of course this is a guess.
Is that 2070?
70. That we'll have more Muslims than Christians in the country. Well, we could discuss that, but not in this program. We've got other things to deal with. And also I thought it was interesting, they're talking about the impact of Pope Francis, and they're kind of thinking it's kind of interesting that it's sounding more like a Baptist.
Yeah. In fact, when he first took his office there were those who viewed him as the Antichrist. I mean, on the internet, were very vocal about.
The Antichrist is in that religion is a way of saying.
Or anti-pope, maybe.
Anti-pope, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
yeah, that's a way to put it. Yeah. And it is contrary to the tradition of popes, which have been pretty much like CEOs in a corporation, follow the party line.
Okay, Joe, I want to call people's attention to an event that will not happen this year and one that may happen.
Okay.
For many, many years, there's been a conference down at Lake Hypatia down in Alabama on the 4th of July weekend, and they've had, I understand, 75 to 100 attendees at times. And speakers come in, and it was just a great place to get together. Well, I'm not an insider, but I would suspect that maybe someone didn't pay sufficient attention to secession. And then when some of the regulars got older and died and so on, they found themselves perhaps with lack of memory on how to govern their activity. So they have canceled that for this year. There will be no conference down at Lake Hypatia, but some local people have came up with a proposal to step in and hold a conference event in the Knoxville area down in Townsend. So this will, according to the plans, and I think they're planning to sign the papers and everything for facilities and so on very soon if they haven't done it already. But the venue down in Townsend will accommodate, it's 75 people easily, with a bit more if they shuffle things around. So they have a wide selection of rooms available for attendees, 3 pools, playground, outdoor movie area.
Who's this for, and what's the agenda?
Well,
is it a bunch of Nazis or who?
It's
No.
it's a replacement, substitute this year for the Lake Hypatia event.
Which is what?
It'll be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday over the July 4th weekend.
Now, a lot of our viewers who have no idea what this means, Lake Hypatia.
Oh, well, as I said...
what's it stand for? Is that a group of rationalists? Is that what it's supposed to be?
Well, I think the Freedom from Religion Foundation has had a very important part in that, and maybe they hold the title, Lake Hypatia, and so there's some negotiations going on as to just what this event would be called. But they've already lined up a number of speakers, and so and some plans for some activities.
And what's the date?
And July 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
3rd, 4th, and 5th. At what time does it start?
It would start Friday afternoon and all day Saturday. And in the past down at Lake Hypatia, they would go through Sunday mornings. And
do you have to sign up ahead of time?
Oh yes, the registration will be required. And I don't know whether.
Do you know? Can you tell people how to do that?
No doubt there will be registration on site, but the planners, of course, have to know ahead of time. You have to deal with the facilities people and tell them how many to expect.
So if they look for it on the internet, what would they look for?
Well, we will look. The place to look right now, and as I said, the decision to pursue this was only done 2 days ago. But look on the RET website, rationalists.org, and I would expect that details would be posted, or at least a link to details.
I think you could find it under Lake Hypatia.
FFRF has already said that Hypatia is taken.
Okay.
So
her name is taken. Okay, I got you. Okay.
Okay, so anyway, we hope to keep you posted on that, and you might reserve that weekend if you like to meet with other free-thinking people. And,
very good. And it's located where now?
Down in Townsend.
Townsend, not down the road.
I won't go into more detail.
That's all right. Thank you. Okay, back to our topic. Can you have a Christian university? What does that mean? That makes more sense. What does it mean to have a Christian college, Christian university? And some people say that's a contradiction. I would say it is a contradiction, or it is not. Depends on who is on the faculty and what the administration and the trustees regard as real education. And so let's plunge into that. In fact, I think you could say you could have a really good university that is a Christian university, or you could have an incredibly bad university that's a Christian university. But that's true of a state university, too.
Yeah.
So let's see what it is.
So basically we want to examine the potential for conflict between the religious views, which may be very narrow or they may be broad, and the views of a faculty which may be more concerned with their own professionalism and academic traditions.
Okay, what a faculty, if it's going to be true to its own, well, what a faculty is, it's got to be true to search for truth and research in the field it operates. That's first and foremost. And then if you advertise something in the catalog, if you're teaching a certain course, then you've got to give what that's about rather than just your own prejudices. You've got to stay on the topic, it seems to me. Otherwise, it's false advertisement.
Well,
where was the difference?
I mean, what is the role then of a Christian university or college in the context of the greater
Okay,
education?
let me suggest this. In a Christian college, you could have courses, say, in the New Testament. Now, I had to fight, but I didn't have any big struggle in Texas to get religion studies in the universities. I mentioned this on the program. Tennessee had them for years. Other states did. And I was arguing that you should have an academic study of various religions. And not to do that is being narrow-minded. What is narrow-minded? You focus and leave out certain things, and part of human life is religion, and you study it. Now, if you think if you think religion is like a virus, you still study it. You say that we got a call in. Okay, let's hear our caller. Go. Caller.
Hey, this is Charles.
Hello, Charles.
So give us opinion. Okay.
Okay, I don't know what today's show on our internet.
We're again. Can you have a Christian college? Go.
Christian college.
Yeah.
Very poor mathematics. No concept of the size and the shape of the planet, things of that nature, because a quote Christian society doesn't understand such things.
Okay. Any other comments you got? Or any question you got on the topic?
Who is founding this Christian college?
All right. Who is what?
Who's founding the Christian college?
Okay. Usually people who want some Christian aspect on the college, and also probably the alumni who went there, for one thing. Okay?
The principal problem is that you wind up with situations where they start mixing in their politics, like at the Liberty University, founded by Jerry Falwell, where they ordered the entire student body to attend a political rally.
Yeah, I remember.
Or get fined and demerits.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you this. Are you saying that Liberty University is pretty much the standard of what Christian colleges and universities are.
That's what they're shooting for, yes.
Now, try answering my question straight.
Yes.
Yes. You're making an empirical statement. Okay, we know where
Yes.
Okay, I know where I disagree with you then. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, we have things like
Go.
Baylor,
Baylor?
Maryville College here in the Knoxville area.
Very good school. We got Texas Christian University, a very good school in Texas, I know. I lived only 30 miles away. Incredibly good school. Baylor University is a good school. I've been there. I taught at a state university for 41 years. I had good interaction with these people.
Yeah, okay, now, did
Go.
they allow
Go.
their religious doctrine to dominate the courses, i.e., did they use religious doctrine as part of the non-religious classwork?
Okay, when you know the faculty and you know the university in specifics rather than making generalizations, then and that's the only way you can know this. I discovered that when they taught biology. They didn't get into the book of Genesis at all.
And that's where the problem begins, is that, and so that's what a lot of the people who want to found that, quote, Christian college, unquote, are doing.
Well,
Okay.
it depends on the college. If you're using
Yeah.
are you using Jerry Falwell as the primary example of all of them? And that's called hasty.
No, not all of them, but that does seem to be
What percentage?
a rising trend.
What percentage? I don't like hasty generalization, so be specific. Otherwise, you're not in the ball game.
Yeah. I'd say right now it's beginning to hit between 7 and 10% of all the colleges in the United States.
And I'm talking about religious colleges. What percentage don't allow the teaching of evolution, for example? Do you know?
Oh, non-religious? 0.
Okay, yeah, we do know where we differ with you then. Go ahead.
Okay?
At least I
Because,
disagree.
that-
Is that true at Baylor?
and
Is that true?
Christian college.
Is that true at Baylor University?
As far as I know, Baylor University does not permit religious doctrine to be taught in scientific courses.
Okay, good. That's what I've been trying to say. Okay, I want to thank you for your call in. Appreciate it very much.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
I think where we agree is if you're going to have a course, you need to find out what the material is and let the specialist focus on the material and not ask the clergy to make an approval or disapproval, stay out of the business. Now, if you're going to, furthermore, I think a college that's a Christian college could offer courses in, say, the New Testament studies, New Testament literature. And they can give different views of literature, different views of theology. I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that. That's an academic study.
Well, but on the other hand, you may have faculty presenting things as divine revelation,
Yeah.
rather than
Go ahead.
rather than studying the structure of the Bible in a historical context and trying to understand
Good.
what the people were saying in their time.
Good. So now, if you're offering a course in world religions, you basically have to say the Muslim tradition, and then you got to divide up what branch of Islam holds to this. It's not my job if I'm teaching the course to go passing judgment as to whether I agree or disagree. It's not a course in me. Okay? If I'm teaching something on Judaism and the various branches, my job is, if I'm going to be doing the job, is to try to be as accurate as I can, teaching it from the insider's point of view. Are you with me? What they believe, why it's meaningful to them. Then I move on to another view and do the same with them. And I let the students make up their minds. Rather than I give my perspective on all of them, which I think is simply one bias versus many biases. And what I would see what you think about this. That objectivity is not a neutral point of view because that's a contradiction. If it's a point of view, it's not neutral. Objectivity is multiple points of view, or if you want to say it, multiple biases. And then you have inter-comparison, and then you have search for internal criticism. That is for elementary contradiction.
Yeah, but
Go ahead.
I could imagine that you have teachers in certain colleges that would present their religious views, their own personal religious views to the students, and maybe deprecate other ideas.
Are you saying that if a man's a secularist, he'll never do that sort of thing? Or a woman?
Explain that.
In other words, you're giving the impression if a person is religious, he's going to be biased.
No. I said that within the range of religious people, there are some who they say strongly believe in creationism, to the exclusion and of evolution or any other origin.
Would you agree that all views are exclusive of other views? All views. That's the nature of a view. It excludes. In other words, you don't just believe. Your view is not you believe in everything. Otherwise, it's not a view.
Well, do you view that all views are exclusive?
All views are exclusive in the sense that they're not another view. Okay? Now, the difference is that you can have in a university, you can include all of these different views, even though you don't say that they all harmonize, because, you can hold that view, but not most people don't hold to that view. But you can, if someone wants to hold it and argue it, you can make it in the university and then criticize it.
Well, I can I can imagine a marketing tactic where a particular institution would say, we are a Christian institution. We hold to these very fundamentalist ideas, and those views are held by our faculty and strongly held by our students. If you want your child to become part of this experience, come to our.
Now that would be what I'd call an indoctrination camp, not a university. But see, I'm trying to say that you could have a Christian college, but I'd have to define it, because otherwise we may have all kinds of different versions. I would say if you're going to be true and accurate about what a university is, it cannot be an indoctrination in just one viewpoint, by definition.
But there are those who would disagree with you.
Well, then that's where I'm saying that I strongly disagree with them, that this is what's basic to a university. If you want to have a place, an institution for indoctrinating in one party line, then to say so. But I'm arguing that you could have what's called a Christian college, by which you could mean we will have good academic study, let's say. And then part of that program would be two things. We can have, let's say, we're doing something like this, or somebody is, and then we're going to offer a course or two strictly in one version of Christianity because you can't get all of them. And we're going to advertise. And if you want your kids to come and learn this in this course, you won't get in this in a lot of schools, but you can get it here. But if it's going to be a university, you can't simply make it a party line and therefore wipe out biology and just turn biology into a Christian course or any other. In other words, you can guarantee that if you come to this college, you can get a good education in what their religion is, and you can associate with other people who are interested in that. But you cannot, if it's a university or college, expect that that's all there is to a college.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's deception.
Now, I guess we must, we could examine just a little bit the kind of control and influence that might be present in a religious college, religious-based college.
Yeah.
Now, Maryville College is associated with the Presbyterian Church, Baylor with the...
It's a very good school.
With the Baptist and so on. So you may have a group kind of managing and establishing guidelines and how their college is going to interact with both the general public and their particular constituency. But yet, within the college or university offer a great deal of freedom.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the hospitals that are controlled by different religious groups.
Yeah. Very good point.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought of that a hospital analogy, but that's a. Now, some hospitals don't have that much freedom if they're controlled by certain denominations.
yeah. I remember certainly my concern when we lived in Cleveland, Ohio, and my first child was born. He was born in a Catholic hospital, and one of the concerns that I discussed with the doctor was how his religious views interfere with, might affect his medical decisions.
But
In particular, there's the discussion about if you have a pregnancy and you're faced with the situation of you can save the mother or save the child.
Exactly.
What's the choice? And when I was in school, we had one young man who had come from a Jesuit school, and so he gave the argument that you should save the child because the mother's function of procreation would she would have satisfied that role in delivering the child, and so she would no longer be necessary.
So he had her one role in her life, huh?
So I was being very careful to
Good for you.
be sure he didn't follow.
Well, when I was in college, we raised this question in the history course, and the teacher said that the Catholic view was try to save both. But I disputed this. I said, it depends on the Catholic hospital you're in, and if I keep this up, I'm going to adopt. But the point was that I don't want to take somebody's religion determining my wife and me and our future on that. And I was in a Baptist college on that.
Yeah, well, and of course, in the news recently has been the reluctance of many religious institutions to provide birth control and so on as part of the health insurance program for their employees. And so there you have an example of where the religious views drill down into the lives of their
they have to go off
employees.
campus to do that. And I went to a religious school. Now this is back in in the 40s and 50s, and that's that's.
Yeah, we didn't mention Carson Newman.
Well, but the costume has changed drastically since it's been a half century. And I taught at University of Redlands in California. I had absolutely no problem. Now that's decade later, you see. Makes a big difference in time. But in fact, I taught in the school, and then I was invited to the Baptist church to teach the Sunday school class to the adults. And we had wild discussions, to say the least. But my point is that a good Christian college can have their own views presented well, exceedingly well, outlined it carefully and argued for it, and then they can have other views, and they must have other views presented. Otherwise, it's not a university or a college.
Yeah. Well, we had some recent experience when several of us went down to University of Pikesville, and you were one of the featured speakers in a sort of debate with a scientist
who was a creation.
who was a creationist.
Yeah.
Well, his science didn't conflict with creationism, but we were invited there by the chaplain.
The chaplain.
And there was a great deal of interest in the points that you made, and the room was just crowded with people and lots of questions. And afterwards, there was one young man who came down, and I guess we mentioned the idea of the Secular Student Alliance. And the chaplain talked with me a little bit, and he said, if you're interested, I'll help you start one.
That's the chaplain.
That was a chaplain.
Well, so he understood what a university has to be if it's going to be a university. And that's why I think he asked you and me to come up there in the first place, is he understood his role of a chaplain was to be a Christian chaplain, but he was also recognized he's in a university and he has a responsibility there. And that's why I respected the man. And I think he showed us respect, and he also showed respect to the man who differed with us so strongly.
Yeah.
That's what I think is a good university then. You can have that wide open articulation of diverse viewpoints, and then the students, as you saw, they lined up and they were into it.
Yeah.
And that's what it should be in a university, it seems to me. And I think a Christian university worthy of the name can do this. I'm not talking about Liberty University. That's not the
contradiction?
I think I think it's almost a joke. It's in my opinion. We can argue that they don't. I'd be glad to be invited up there to speak. Would debate it.
Yeah. Well, Joe, we're at about the halfway point here, and time for our program break. So, for those of you out there, in case you're just tuning in, this is Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. Freethought Forum is funded jointly by them and by individual contributions. Shows are live most every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Knoxville Community Access Television Channel 12 or 194, depending on your local cable network. Until you're out of town, friends, and that you can see us streaming online at ctvknox.org.
Yeah.
In fact, this would, I guess, the people down in Maryville, I don't think they have the same cable, the same community access we do, nor in Lenore City and so on. But they can always watch us streaming online.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, it's a call-in show, and we're live. Believe it or
May
not.
12th, 2015.
So be glad to hear from you, and we don't have to have agreements. But, sometimes a good disagreement brings up different points of view that we hadn't even thought of.
Oh, okay. So you can still call in now while we go on to an informative break, And I'll ask Sam if he would play our videos now.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
Knoxville area and are questioning your religious beliefs or simply believe in one less God than everyone else? Well, you're not alone. The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun and friendly group of people just like you that meets twice a week at a bar or restaurant. We meet every Tuesday night following the show at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria for happy hour. You'll find our group either inside or on the patio. Look for Richard Dawkins' silver-jacketed book, The God Delusion, standing upright on the table. On Fridays, we meet at Agave Azul or the Beard and Beer Market. But if you plan to preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch, please don't. We all question what we believe at one point in our lives. If this is the time for you, come join us for food, drink, conversation, and fun. Do you find stories of talking snakes laughable? Do you prefer the scientific method over supernatural beliefs? Are you concerned about religious leaders and organizations imposing their values and rules on your body, your family, and the rest of our society? Well, take comfort in the fact that you're not alone. The Rationalists of East Tennessee meets weekly for fellowship and provides a forum for people who support skeptical thinking and rational discussion of these and other issues. To find out more information or to find out about our next meeting, visit us on the web at www.rationalist.org.
Okay. The Atheist Society of Knoxville, or ASK, meets 2 times a week. We have evening meetups for fun, food, drink, and conversation. ASK's purpose is to provide a venue for community, camaraderie, and outreach to atheists, agnostics, freethinkers, and other like-minded persons in the East Tennessee area.
And the RAT has Sunday activities involving lively presentations and discussions and good fellowship.
So our Tuesday meeting is going on now at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria in the Knoxville Old City.
Oh, good. And, well, go ahead. Well, I guess we...
Okay, the Rationalists of East Tennessee has Sunday activities, as you just mentioned, Joe, on first and third Sundays, and then book club on the second Sunday, and then other activities. So visit rationalist.org to find the calendar of books for our book club, Skeptics Book Club, at Books A Million, 8513 Kingston Pike, every second Sunday at 2 p.m.
Good.
So both the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee help to provide a social outlet where you'll find that if you don't believe in God, you're not alone.
Good. Okay, let's get back to our topic then, huh? I mentioned Texas Christian University. Now, that struck me when I was there as an exceedingly good, even, and maybe especially in the religion studies program there. They had great diversity. And then they would meet with the rest of us in what we call then the Southwest Division of the American Academy of Religion. That combined also with the Society of Biblical Literature and the Scientific Study of Religion group. And at one time I was, we move around. I was president of the whole group once. And then, we swap around on this. But my point, and I was in a state university, and what was interesting to me is to watch the colleagues debate among themselves and how open the discussion was. And you couldn't determine who's an atheist, who's a theist, who's a Baptist, who's a Methodist, because we were focusing on the specific issues. And those broader issues simply didn't come into play. And I think, looking back, that may be why I was actually offered a job at Baylor University, which is a Baptist school, which I didn't take because I had a good job at a state school. But I had enormous respect for the teachers there, and we interacted exceedingly well. And I've always thought This is because basically the faculty, with their expertise in various fields, control the curriculum, not the administration. My dean once told me, I had different kinds of deans. One dean was so narrow he could look through a keyhole with both eyes. And another one said, keep publishing and writing the way you do, and I'll pay for all your typists. That's a dean, by the way, who had been a former Catholic priest, teaching now, or a dean in he was in the English department, now a dean. And I asked him and encouraged him and others, and he taught a course in English Bible, mostly the Bible as literature, and did an exceptionally good job. As you know, much of the Bible is incredibly good literature, particularly in the Old Testament. And he did a marvelous job. So what I'm saying is that in a real university, the faculty with their expertise elect who's going to be on the faculty and who to give tenure. And to get tenure, you have to earn it. You just don't get it because you got a PhD. You get it because you have taught and been evaluated by the students, evaluated by colleagues, and then you've served so many years and you continue to measure up and you publish, then you get tenure, which means you can't be fired because some trustee thinks you got the wrong politics. That's basically what that's about. And that's what's whether you're a Catholic university or whether you've got to be concerned about the academic freedom to pursue your research and your studies the way you can with all honesty and integrity without having external pressure. And that's what academic freedom is basically about, it seems to me. I think you would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a physicist. You know what I'm talking about. You can't have that's one of the big problems we have if you work for a company, say a drug company, and you're doing research. You need to have independent research. You don't need the CEO say, well, we want you to come to this conclusion. If he does, then he's asking you not to be a scientist anymore. You've got to test the conclusions and see if they stand up. If not, you've got to make revisions.
Yeah.
And Baylor University, TCU were good examples of, and today Carson Newman has modified greatly, as all schools have, in 50 years. And I read some comment by the president the other day, and it just seemed like, he's understood the importance of diversity of research. And you cannot have a university without that. Now, we don't have any more callers in from our, and I don't want you to be too silent. That's not typical. So comment.
Oh, well. I guess we have been criticized at times by callers from the Christian community that we are attacking Christianity and we don't get on to the subject of other religions like Islam and maybe Hinduism and fortunately, well, certainly in my case, it's a lack of familiarity with these other religious views. But in terms of universities, crackerjack universities, if you get outside of the Western sphere that is perhaps dominated or has been dominated by Christianity, and you get into, say, the Islamic sphere, are there any outstanding universities that are basically Muslim? any that you would know.
That's a good point.
I think you can give some examples. Well, okay, there was a time when there was great enlightenment among the Islamic.
Yeah. In fact, the Islamic tradition helped make it possible for Aristotle to survive in the Western world.
Yeah, but what then happened was, it's my understanding. I'm not an expert in this field. Was that at a certain point, as Islam spread around the region, their different groups developed differing views, and at some point, just as happened in Christianity, it was decided, okay, we need to standardize, and so a lot of the views were eliminated, and Islam became more rigid, and that was about the time that they fell from being a world cultural.
Well, they're suffering the same problem right now. The Islamic State probably does not represent all of Islam. Islam has to come to terms, however, with church-state separation. You cannot have a decent society where religion thrives with freedom without church-state separation. We've got too much history in the Middle East, too much history in Europe to show that where you have church and state coming together and the state supporting one group of religion versus another, or no religion and wiping out all religion, that's nothing but another word for tyranny. And we've got whole centuries of that.
Yeah, then you can see religious bias. Now I have been away from the physics community since I retired for many years, and haven't kept up with the Nobel awards and recognition like that in physics and the other sciences. But I remember at one time among the Nobel laureates in physics, there was only one outstanding Muslim, I. Rabi, and he was from Pakistan. And after he was recognized as a Nobel laureate, he went back. He wanted to go back to lecture at a Pakistani university, and was denied because he was of the Sufi subgroup, and I think that particular group is still very strongly prejudiced against them.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, and the universities have to watch about this kind of thing in departments. One group wants to control, the culture of the department. And I always admired the chairman we had at the University of North Texas, which kept growing and growing, our department. We just said we want the Department of Philosophy and Religion Studies together so we can make sure it's an academic thing, and it worked exceedingly well. And the chairman of the department there, Richard Owsley, emphasized diversity. He brought me in partly because my view was different from his, and I always admired him for that. And we became exceedingly good friends because I learned a lot from him, and I think he learned something from me, because we could say, well, I didn't realize this perspective is throwing a light on I hadn't thought about. And it opened up a whole new world for me. And then we brought in other people. But whenever you get a kind of a denominational takeover in a department, it reduces its value, it seems to me.
Yeah, I suppose by virtue of excluding excellent people who do not particularly agree with that that insider view.
Yeah.
So we were briefly discussing the idea of perhaps limitations on the quality of faculty, or at least I was suggesting it, on the quality of faculty in a strict religious setting. With the following, okay, you had this article, the professionalization of faculty at religious colleges and universities, and I just read the statement here, but it says most at its religious college. That responses from 1,900 faculty members at 6 religious colleges and universities show that most faculty members support including religious criteria in hiring, contrary to professional and disciplinary norms. But most faculty reject religious constraints on academic freedom.
Okay.
So I was suggesting that that these people may be doing something of self-preservation, that they may not be able to make it in the bigger world, and by limiting the faculty in a particular institution to those who hold the same religious views that they do, then they cut down on competition.
Okay. What I discovered, living 41 years in that metroplex, the faculty in the state universities and the faculty in the religious universities were just competent, good, because the faculty had control, not the administration. Now, why is that important? The faculty has the expertise to determine whether or not one particular faculty member is a fraud. As a matter of fact, I hate to say this, but it's true. I had a dear friend at a particular college, I won't say which one, and I miss him a lot because he had a marvelous singing voice, but as a philosophy teacher, he changed his viewpoint. That's okay. His viewpoint is none of my business as a colleague. What he teaches and how he teaches is part of my business, and what I do is part of his business. And he went just strictly party line. No matter what course he taught, it was himself. And he wouldn't recognize this is false advertisement. When you have a course that says it's got to be this, get to the subject. And if you're teaching David Hume, I don't care whether you agree with Hume or not, teach David Hume's view as if David Hume is right here and he was a good teacher. That's the job. And he wouldn't do it. And we tried to get him to change, and he wouldn't, so we told him to get lost. Not because we disagreed with any of his views, because we'd all differed with each other. Because he couldn't teach but just one point of view, and that was his, in every course. And I taught all kinds of views because that's what I got paid to do. And that's why they would hire me if I'd gone to Baylor University. It's a Baptist university, because they knew I could teach Plato, I could teach Aristotle, whatever the job was. Or if they needed me to teach some Baptist history, I could do that. They didn't need me for that. But they knew that I could appreciate what they were doing in the course. And I think that's why I think they are an incredibly good school. And I think where I was, a state school, was good.
Well, Joe, you have read this article. I can always tell something that you have been reading, because there's just underlines in ink and red, and and so on. Would you care to comment on why these 1,900 individuals held the view that there should be some religious criterion?
Okay, I think what they're trying to say in this is that in most of these schools, they're saying if you're going to come in to teach in a Christian school, and especially if you're going to teach in the religion department or department in, say, a history department, and you're having to deal with some aspect to deal with their background, you ought to have an understanding and knowledge of it. In other words, all it amounts to is you ought to be knowledgeable in the field. And most people coming in would have to study to be knowledgeable. I mean, if I came in to speak in, say, a Quaker college, I'd have to learn more about Quakers. If I were going to teach a course in Quaker history or something like that, I'd have to get informed. That's what I think most of that is about. They're not.
So is what you're saying that a new faculty member hired to teach biology would profit by knowing more about the religious views of the students, so how to tailor arguments and discussions to that particular audience?
He wouldn't tailor it so much as he would know how to be sensitive. I mean, you can't just tailor a course. I mean, you got to give the material. But he would know what was sensitive, what would not be sensitive, and how not to ridicule students who have views that you think are, whose views may be to you absurd. But that doesn't mean the student is absurd. See, a lot of, I know you know the distinction. A lot of people don't make that distinction. And so what they want is a teacher who can recognize the respect for a person, because you can communicate better if you show respect. And I had very good success, I think, and people told me I did, with fundamentalists, because I understood fundamentalism, and I could listen, and we could say, well, you say this, and then you say this, let's keep going. And they would keep going, and they would run into. See, what I'm saying, people learn more if they see the problems and if they see a solution.
The old saying, man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all it is about, basically, is it? And that's why I've mentioned Carl Rogers on this program a lot. He was a good listener. And I say a good teacher can follow a student when he's making a case, follow his argument with him, so that he knows that you listen, and he learns also to listen.
Well, Joe, it's time to start wrapping up things. If you want to contact us before our next show, get out pen and paper and write down our contact information. This has been Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. I am Jonas Holdeman.
And I'm Joe Barnhart. And give us a feedback. Leave us a voicemail at 865-272-9060, or you can email us at freethoughtforum@yahoo.com.
And you can see this show on Tuesdays from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on this Knoxville station, or streaming live to the world.
I wanted to share something with you guys. We all love food, and we sort of like camping-ish, right? Well, if you like both. Ish.
Focus on the ish.
Yeah. When I asked Liz once, I'm like, Liz, you want to go camping? This is when we first started dating. She goes, could we camp at the Ritz-Carlton?
Settle in for the night.
View of the woods somewhere.
Yes.
Right. Well, there is a new line of camp food for foodies. We're going to taste it. It's from a company called Good to Go. It's created by a chef named Jennifer Sissom. You just add boiling water and let it sit for 20 minutes, and a pack of 4 single